Hello, welcome to the channel. My name's Matt, and today we're going to do a quick tag video, this or that tag today. I've seen this done by Theo on Rekindled Reader, and by Colin on Colin's Corner as well. Neither of them tagged me, but that's because I hadn't existed yet, but I have now. They said that they'd tag anybody who watched it, and I watched them both, so I'm counting that. So, first question, paperback or hardback? My preference generally is probably paperback. I buy a lot more paperbacks than hardbacks. Hardbacks are more expensive. If I was collecting books, hardbacks, because when you look at some of the hardbacks, some of the special editions that people do, they are outstanding. You look at Broken Binding and some of the stuff they do, wow. But realistically, we've all got a budget, and I can buy more paperbacks than I can hardbacks. That's more stories to read. So paperback. Okay, number 2. Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings. If you've seen my video that I did recently on my sort of Q1 wrap-up, the books I've read so far, I've only just started reading Harry Potter. I read the first 2 last year, and I read Prisoner of Azkaban this year. They were fine. Is that controversial to say? They were fine. Not my best. Lord of the Rings I was brought up with. It's up there, and yeah, they've had much more influence over my life. So, Lord of the Rings, yeah, I think maybe it's just the time of age at which I read them or read to them. That this was when I was much younger. I read this, and I'm only picking up Harry Potter now. Maybe if I'd read it when I was younger, it would have had a much bigger influence, and it seems to have done on people who did read it at that time. But hey, Lord of the Rings. 3, real books or ebooks? Real books, physical books. I struggle with ebooks. I've read a few. I don't have a Kindle or anything like that. It's perhaps why, so I read it on the phone if I'm going to read an ebook, which is not the ideal thing to read it on. And I just like the physicality of having the paper in my hand to read, so always real books. Buying books or borrowing? Okay, this is probably more difficult. The realism is I buy more books than I borrow. Yeah, I'm trying to borrow more from the library, and using like the Libby app is fantastic, especially for audiobooks. But yeah, I buy more than I borrow at the moment, and that's the truth of it. So I like to have the books. I like to own the books. I don't like to have to get them back at a certain time. Some of them sit on my shelf for years. Before you get round to them on the TBR. So yeah, physical books, owning them is probably my preference. Number 5, read in bed or in a chair. Oh, I do both. Probably in bed. I think because generally that means everyone's asleep in the house, and I have some peace and quiet when I'm laying in bed. As if I'm in a chair, it's probably downstairs on the sofa and people are up and moving around and there's more distractions. So we'll go for it in bed. Number 6, book club or read alone? Most of the time I read alone. I am looking to do more buddy reads and book club reading now, but yeah, most of the time I read alone. I like to talk about books. So having the book club buddy read option is good, but more often than not I read alone and then discuss the book afterwards with anybody who will listen. Library or bookstore? Bookstore. I think it goes back to I do buy more books than I borrow, and I think the challenge I've got is the local library to me has a fantastic selection of crime books, but I don't read a huge amount of crime. I read much more fantasy and sci-fi, and its fantasy and sci-fi selection is really poor. As if I go to a bookshop, and I live in London and we have some amazing bookshops, some amazingly beautiful bookshops that you can spend hours in, so it's probably bookstops. Yeah, bookstores, definitely. Non-fiction or fiction? So I read both. I've generally always got a non-fiction on the go, but I will say fiction. I read a lot more fiction than I do non-fiction, especially fantasy sci-fi. Yeah, so fiction will win out there. Print or audio? Oh, now that is a tough one. Print or audio? So I listen to quite a lot of audiobooks. Either when I'm out walking, I run, so if I'm out running, I'll stick an audiobook in. Oh, print or audio, print or audio. Probably print. Probably print. The only reason I say that is audio can be hit and miss. Some audio voice actors are exceptionally good, and some are poor. Poor's harsh. Some are mediocre. Some are exceptional and they add so much to the story. But some are poor. As when you're reading it and you create your own voices. So let's go print. New books or old books? So I probably read. It depends what you mean by old. New or old. Oh man, that's a tough one. I do read probably more. Would there be classed as older books? What's counts as older? Before 2000? Is that older? Doesn't sound very old to me, but if we said before 2000 was older, then definitely older books. I am starting to read more newer books as we go in, but I've never been one to keep up with trends. I'm going to try and read more recent releases, but I'm generally reading books from at least a few years ago, if not many years ago. So old books. Short chapters or long chapters? For me, short chapters. I find it, I think because I have a young child in the house, if I'm reading downstairs, if I've got a long chapter, I probably have to wait till the evening. As if it's a short chapter, I can get through it and then get on with whatever else I need to do. And it's easier to pick up and drop off as you need to with the shorter chapters. So I think short chapters over long chapters. And that is that. That's all 11 questions. I hope you enjoyed that really quick whistle-stop tour through them. I think a lot of people have done this tag already, so I'm not going to tag anybody. But if you haven't done it and you want to do it, please do. And tag me in it to let me know I can watch your video as well. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Cheers.